Okay, it's 10 a.m. I will call this Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. We will start with a salute of the flag, and I'd like Adrian Santiago to lead us. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Great job. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
We're having a little bit of a technical difficulty. We got to start the meeting.
Do we need to?
No, we're good.
Okay.
So Alexis Hill, Chair.
Here.
Jean Herman, Vice Chair.
Here.
Mike Clark.
Present.
Mari Luz Garcia.
Here.
Clara Andriola.
Present.
County Manager Eric Brown.
Here.
Mary Canderas, DA.
Here.
And I'm Jan Galasini, your County Clerk. Madam, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We now will move into the invocation. And I'm not sure if there's someone here to present that, and I'm not seeing anyone, so we will move on to the next item, public comment. Mr. Manager.
Public comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments will be made to the commission as a whole. Virtual public comment eligible when facilities are available.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any public commenters?
We do. First up, we have Scott Finley.
One for the record and one for each of the commissioners.
I will distribute documents for Mr. Finley. Go ahead when you're ready.
Please enter my comment and this document into the record pursuant to NRS 241. My name is Scott Finley. I'm a resident of Washoe County and have a military background in the financial management and comptroller career field of the United States Air Force. The individuals and entities pushing the Public Lands Management Act masquerade with the veneer of environmentalism when in reality they are nothing more than eco-fascists. These globalist scumbags resort to unscrupulous activities such as having AI bots leaving e-comments in an attempt to manipulate how our elected and appointed representatives vote. The inconvenient truth is that we live in a world with rampaging psychopaths, and the price we pay as vanguards of justice is eternal vigilance. The Board of County Commissioners must pass a resolution making a formal declaration condemning these eco-fascists that bring forth the challenge to steal our land, our heritage. How does this Lands Grab Act protect Washoe County's environment when it seeks to take public lands that we already enjoy and then slice and dice it for private land developers? My wife and I live within a 1 minute walk from BLM land. Our property being within such close proximity to public lands is one reason why we decided to move where we did. We take walks out there with our dogs, ride horses, and enjoy the nature of the high desert landscape in all its glory. Many people do. Nature is the original artist, and we enjoy its art. If the Lands Grab Act passes, the public land next to us will be turned over to private land developers who will in turn construct high-density commie blocks. Some people drone on and on about how there needs to be affordable housing, but what is affordable housing? It is a nice way of saying low-income housing for the hyper-poor. The simple fact of the matter is, if the only way we can afford to live in an area, if the only way you can afford to live in an area is by destroying parts of the surrounding environment, then you are not wanted in Washoe County. When it comes to social stability, what we need is quality, not quantity. If people think the passage of the Public Lands Act will be a one-and-done deal, you are wrong. It will set a precedent and green light that all of Nevada's public lands are up for grabs, and eventually even more public land will be handed over to private land developers. Given enough time, there won't be any public lands left in Washoe County for our grandchildren or our grandchildren's grandchildren to enjoy. For these reasons, the Board of County Commissioners must pass a resolution making a declaration condemning these eco-fascists that bring forth the challenge to steal our land, our heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we announce the next person, Madam Clerk, I forgot to point out that we are going to be continuing item 17 on our agenda. The applicant has asked to pull that to a future meeting. So if folks have public comment on item 17, you can do it at the beginning of the meeting or at the end of our meeting during general public comment. Back to you, Madam Clerk.
Next up, we have Russell Burley.
Good morning, Russell Byerly. I came down to speak on item 17, which apparently is no longer necessary, so I guess I'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Alana Cordano.
Good morning. My name is Alana Cordano. I live at 816 Thacker Pass Drive in Spanish Springs. And on the 16th of December, the evening of about 6 o'clock, we had over 500 side-by-sides circling our residential area for 1 hour. And that spoke of the side-by-sides alone are very loud, just one. On top of that, they had 6 to 8 people crammed in one, and they're blaring their Christmas carols. I get it that this is a social event. I'm all for it. I'm a biker. I ride for the Christian Motorcycle Association, and I know the rules of the road, and we don't go down residential areas and disturb people's peace. So what I'm asking is, I found out that the sheriff's office will not step in to do anything to cite 500 ATVs. It's just not going to happen. And what I'm seeing as a result of this is going to inhabit the residential area is going to want to come together and take matters in their own hands to stop them from coming through the residential areas. If they want to socialize and they want to do their decorations and be in the cheerful mood, that's great. I applaud that. But go do that on the highway, on the main roads, on the strips. Don't come into the residential area and disturb peace for a whole hour circling my home. It was disruptive. I don't care for it, and I'm not the only one that was complaining. That night they had a lot of calls on that, but they can't do anything. And my concern is that it's going to fall into the hands of the residents who are going to want to step in and do it themselves, which will cause altercations, violence, and therefore it should be a zone or a place for them to go, not in the residential area. Thank you.
Ms. Cordano, thank you. Did you call the sheriff's office?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
They spoke with the director of the social gathering. They had permits, from what I understand, but they did not describe where they can go, where they're prohibited to go, where they can or cannot go. All I was told was that the police can't get involved.
Huh. Okay, well, we have staff here who will see, if we can look into this for you. And thank you for the information.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
There's nobody else signed in chambers, and it appears that there's nobody signed in online either.
Okay, well, per our agenda, we need to take a break until 11 a.m., and we'll see everyone back then. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It is 11 o'clock, and I will call the Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. We are now on item 5. And before Mr. Manager reads that into the record, I just wanted to reiterate that item 17 has been requested by the GID to move to be continued to another meeting. We don't have that meeting date, but as soon as we do, we'll let folks know. So if you have public comment on that item in particular, you'll need to do your public comment at the end during our general public comment, and I'll reiterate that to remind folks as well. Mr. Manager, item number 5.
Item 5 is Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commissions updates, requests for information, and topics for future agendas.
And do you have anything for us, Mr. Manager?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. I will just go down the row. Vice Chair Herman, do you have anything? Okay. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. I wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday. Some of us are rocking the festive colors out there. Just a reminder that the holiday season can be a very difficult time of year for some of our youth, adults, and seniors in our community. And if you come across or know of somebody that is struggling, please encourage them to call 988, which is available 24/7. And I also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge some of the people in the county that are under our custody and care during the holiday season. I had the opportunity to tour the Family Engagement Center yesterday morning, and it was just so impressive. They're facilitating between 7,000 and 8,000 visits per year, and this is for families to reunite, families that are in the foster care system. And when you walk into this building, it's bright and cheery and colorful, and they have a whole room set up with a Christmas tree so that families in between now and the holidays can exchange gifts. And it's just, it just really brought everything into perspective, because I remember what we used to have in Washoe County, and it was nowhere near this. I found out yesterday from the staff at HSA that this model is truly, like Manager Brown said, a best practice. It is the only one in the state of Nevada, and we have recently had 4 different states come to visit this Family Engagement Center. So I just wanted to applaud the staff over there at HSA, who are doing a great job, especially during a difficult time for families who are separated, but trying to get the most of the holiday season. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Andriola.
I just want to also echo the holidays are here, and thank you for playing the Christmas music during the wait. It just, all we were missing was, some goodies. But we can all have that soon. So happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to see you here today. I heard you were sick last night. I was at the Catholic Charities, and they thought you were supposed to be there, and they said you were out ill. So I'm glad you made it here this morning.
Thank you for saying that.
So yesterday I had an opportunity to be a bell ringer for Salvation Army down at South Meadows. Down at in front of the Walmart down there. I wasn't sure about what that was going to entail, but it turned out to be a really good time. I spent a couple hours. It was a little bit rainy, but I could get under an awning. But it was good being out there and ringing the bell and talking to people, and it was just a good experience. A lot of folks out there were willing to share some of their money with those that are less fortunate. It was good to see. I saw at least one person put a $100 bill in the red kettle from the group down there. So I thought it was good. Not everybody did. It was kind of fun to stand there and watch and look at people coming in and out and trying to anticipate and guess who might donate. And it was just you couldn't tell. It just whoever decided had the money and felt the urge did it, and it was just heartwarming to see people willing to share with those less fortunate during the holidays. So I thank everybody yesterday that contributed to that. I'm going to move on to some other items. As I mentioned, I was at Catholic Charities last night. I finally got the opportunity to sample the food they serve. I got to watch the preparation, watch the cooking, watch the plating, watch the transportation, and quite frankly, I think the seniors get not as good a quality and not as good a food as what we're handing out at the CARES campus. I find that troubling. And I think that we need to do better for our seniors. Also talking, I've spent probably an hour and 20 minutes there talking about just a lot of things in general with Catholic Charities. And they brought to my attention that since the CARES campus has been taken over by the county, they've provided 1.2 million meals to the folks that are under the care of the campus, CARES campus, under the care of the county, the guests there at the CARES campus. So, I mean, that's a lot of food. That's a lot of volunteer work, thousands and thousands of hours of volunteer work to prepare that food. Lots of money to buy the food, deliver the food. They figure that they've probably contributed over $6 million of food, prepared food, to the CARES campus. And my question is, why isn't the county reimbursing Catholic Charities? Catholic Charities is using their resources to feed the county's charges. I think the county should look into reimbursing Catholic Charities. And I asked the lady in charge there, I'm not going to mention her name, but ask her, what would she do if I could write her a check right there, right on the spot for $6 million? She said she would use it for senior housing. Seniors that couldn't afford to pay their rent, seniors that needed a little help, seniors that maybe had a medical bill that month, or maybe their car broke, or maybe they needed a set of tires and they couldn't quite make the rent. She'd use that money and divide it up and hand it out for seniors to help them keep in their houses so they didn't have to become residents of the CARES campus. So one of the things that I want to push for in this coming year is figuring out a way that the county can reimburse Catholic Charities, so Catholic Charities can continue to do their good work for what their mission is, and that's helping everybody, not just using all of their resources to help the county's homeless problem. Okay, so I just want to put that on the record, let the county manager know, and let the other commissioners know without breaking the open meeting law and talking about something that's not on the agenda. But we need to figure out a way to reimburse Catholic Charities so they can continue doing their good work. That's a lot of money. And I'm supposed to get it from them the next day or two. They're going to give me what the volunteer hours are worth, and that they figure the volunteers are worth about $20 an hour. So we're looking at other millions of dollars that haven't been accounted for. So I think we need to take a look at that and figure out how to reimburse them. Next, I noticed, as former assessor, I always like to count things and take numbers and take little tolls. And I noticed when we started our meeting an hour and 8 minutes ago, that we had 17 county employees in the building and 9 public speakers. So today, the county commissioners and the county employees outnumber the public. So I just thought it was interesting. Usually it's the other way around. I joked with the sheriff about security, that today we outnumbered them, so we didn't have to worry up here on the dais that the public might attack us as a joke. I want to find out from the county manager, Human Services. I'd like to see a written definition of homelessness versus unhoused versus indigent. I want to see exactly what that is. It sounds like we're playing semantics, sounds like we're splitting hairs. What's really the situation with folks that are under the county's care or are on their own or fending for themselves out in the bushes along the river? I got an email from the new head of HSA, and he tells me the number is about 1,700 homeless folks in this county. And yet, when I read articles in the Wall Street Journal and then the ABC News and other news providers, the numbers don't align with what I've been told. So I'd like to find out what's really happening. And if we're doing such a great job, I want to ask the public, when you're driving around, does it look like there's less homeless people here? Do you have the perception that there's 50% less homeless people in the county? I don't get that perception. I've taken it upon myself to interview business owners on 4th Street. And so many times when I interview somebody, I talk to somebody, I bring information back to the staff, they try and figure out a way how to tamp it down. Oh, that's just Clark saying it. So now I'm just going to film everybody saying it, and then they can talk about what the folks actually say in their own words, rather than me being the spokesperson. You know, what's the old saying about don't kill the messenger? When I'm the messenger, it seems like many times I'm trying to be tamped down. But I've interviewed a number of folks on 4th Street, and what you need to understand is these folks are leaving. They're selling their businesses. They want to move away. They can't conduct business. The CARES campus is hurting people that have been in business on that street for 50, 60 years. Long-term businesses are moving away. Some folks have sat for interviews. Those are available to watch. Other folks are afraid to be interviewed, even though they'll talk with me. They're afraid to be interviewed because they're afraid of reprisals from the city or the county. So isn't that a shame when somebody has a problem and they're afraid to talk about it because they might be victimized further? That's a real problem as far as I'm concerned. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to try and talk to every business owner on 4th Street and hear their story. And I urge the other commissioners to do that as well. We've got to figure out a way, if we're going to warehouse people on 4th Street at the CARES campus, that we minimize the damage it does to other folks around there. Or do we just have a no-barrier street or a no-barrier neighborhood? It's one thing to have a no-barrier facility, but it's another thing to have a no-barrier neighborhood. The stories are unbelievable. You'd have to hear it. You'd have to hear it from these folks about how this has impacted their business, how the customers are afraid to go down there. How would you like it if it was your business and the county plopped down a homeless shelter next to you and then ran off all your customers? Think about that. So I'm very concerned, and I'd like the county to respond to me with their definitions of homelessness versus unhoused versus indigent. And I'd like to see those definitions in writing. And that's all I have for now. Happy holidays.
Thank you very much. I would just like to also wish our community happy holidays and thank our staff for their incredible work this year. When I was reflecting back on all of the things that we have been able to do, and certainly during Manager Brown's review, we got to see the incredible work of the Washoe County staff. You're true public servants. We can't do our work without you, and I just wanted to publicly thank you. All right, we will now move. Commissioner Clark is signed in again.
Yes, I forgot to mention there's, over the last almost year now, I've asked for probably 10, 15, 20 different items to be put on the agenda. I think I've had one put on the agenda. I'd like to see that changed in the future. There's a number of issues that I think that the board needs to deliberate on, and we can talk about it up here and then have a vote on it. I want to talk about, I'd like to be able to talk about retro pay for the county employees. I brought it up time and time and time again. We hire Korn Ferry to do a study. The study tells us to do this, we do this, and then we find out the unintended consequences. You know, we've got to take good care of our employees, or we'll be finding other employees. It's as simple as that. You know, as running the assessor's office, and all of my staff, I thought did an excellent job. I would stand up for them to get a pay raise any chance that I could, and back them up. And the reason is quite simple. It's a selfish reason. The better they do, the better it makes the department head look. the better it is for the customer. The customer is the taxpayer. The better it is for the county. I don't know why my fellow commissioners and the county manager don't understand that the most valuable asset we have here is our county employees. If we need to go on a case-by-case basis with these folks to make their pay align with other new hires, when I see people have been on the job for several years and they're making less than new hires, that doesn't lead to good morale. That doesn't lead to good quality service. That leads to people leaving us. That means we got to retrain somebody. So think about it. Is it easier to make a person who works for you happy after they've already been trained, or does it make sense to have them leave and then retrain somebody else? It's just, this is a management situation. Try and find the way to make your employees as happy as you can and not deny them the fact that they're unhappy. Many of these employees are unhappy. Some of them will talk about it, some of them won't. They're afraid of retribution. That's why I got that on the record at the last meeting. But we need to have this as a vote and have the commissioners decide whether we're going to pay these folks and pay them retroactively towards what happened last year with the massive pay raises in one particular department. Then I'd like to have on the agenda a spending limit for the manager. I'd like the commissioners to talk about that and vote on it and figure out what the spending limit should be for the manager's office. So those are two requests I'm making right now, and I'm hoping I'm not going to have to make these same requests a year from now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to item 6. Mr. Manager.
Item 6 is a presentation by Adrienne Santiago, Executive Director of the Northern Nevada Literacy Council, to discuss the outcome of the Washoe County Community Reinvestment Grant Program. NNLC's Washoe County Literacy Project, addressing literacy needs for adult learners in Washoe County ages 16 and older.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Chair Hill, County Manager Brown, and all the commissioners for having me here today. Northern Nevada Literacy Council is a local nonprofit organization serving the literacy needs of our Washoe County residents since 1978. We provide literacy programs to help residents achieve a high school equivalency, improve English literacy, prepare for the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services interview and exam, help out-of-school youth ages 16 to 24 achieve a high school equivalency, and move forward into training and employment. NNLC helps families improve literacy programs through the Family Reading Program, teaching parents to be their child's first and best teachers, and we are a staff of 48. All programs offered are at no cost to participants. NNLC was fortunate, very fortunate, to be awarded over $345,000 through the Washoe County Community Reinvestment Grant. To NNLC, this was an amazing opportunity for a community partnership in a program that would address the literacy needs of our Washoe County adult learners ages 16 and older. I'm happy to share with you the measurable outcomes of our high school equivalency program. The HiSET exam requires the candidates to pass a series of 5 exams, $17 each, for a total of $85. The Washoe County Reinvestment Grant made it possible for all exam fees to be covered for these participants, removing this barrier in sitting for the exam. NNLC graduated 54 adult learners ages 16 and older who achieved the high school equivalency certification. 67 more adult learners have started to take their series of exams. In total, NNLC served 121 adult learners ages 16 and older with the Washoe County Reinvestment Funds as they work towards achieving or completing their educational goals for high school equivalency. Over $146,000 have been spent on 59 graduates who, after achieving a high school equivalency, went on to training, leading to an industry-recognized certification in sectors resulting in sustainable living wages. We all know from our Nevada report card, 20% of our Washoe County School District enrollments are English language learners. We also are aware, according to the Nevada Report Card, our English language learners have a 7.6% dropout rate, with Hispanics alone at 8.2%. NNLC addresses this concern with support from the Washoe County Reinvestment Funds by not only offering English language classes to improve reading, writing, and speaking English for our foreign-born community members, but also provide ESL students with the opportunity to enroll in an industry-recognized certification programs. NNLC, as an example, offered the Certified Administrative Assistant Program taught by TMCC at our NNLC campus on Wedekin Road, with tuition supported by the Washoe County Reinvestment Funds to English language learners. This is a dual enrollment where they attend their ESL classes at the same time attending their career skills program. These funds supported 317 ELA adult learners. As our relocated and immigrant population continues to grow in our county, NNLC has partnered with those serving the special population by offering the citizenship program. Legal permanent residents, LPRs, attend the programs in preparation to sit for the USCIS naturalization exam and interview. These funds supported 32 students enrolled. NNLC partners with Catholic Charities, who provides the legal support, while NNLC provides the educational piece. As I mentioned earlier, partnership, leveraging funds, and collaborating service is at the core and foundation of this nonprofit organization. In a state ranked 6th in literacy by the Center for Educational Statistics, NNLC understands the importance of creating access to our literacy programs. We do this by partnering with other agencies where we provide the literacy programs as a foundation for training and a pathway to enter the workforce. Currently, NNLC provides access to our classes and programs at the Washoe County School District Family Resource Center in both Sparks and North Valleys. We offer classes through Washoe County Libraries in both Sparks and Sierra View Library in Reno. We work with the Eddy House to offer access to our high school equivalency classes for their clients. We work with the Reno Sparks Indian Colony to offer classes to access our high school equivalency program. We have held classes at the Salvation Army. We are currently working closely with the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce through the Chamber's Career Project, helping residents of the CARES campus improve literacy skills in preparation to enroll in training programs and work skill programs. I want to thank Commissioner Clark for your support in this very important program that has helped so many adult learners transition from being unhoused, unskilled, unemployed, and lacking basic educational skills into achieving a high school equivalency certification, training and employment, and sustainable career wages. It is because of the Washoe County Reinvestment Funds, none of our partners have had to pay for our programs to address the literacy needs of their clients. In closing, NNLC wants to thank the Washoe County Commissioners for trusting in NNLC with these funds. We especially want to thank Gabrielle Enfield and her team, Carissa Bradley, Amber Bunkowski, and Lauren Solom. We want to give a special thanks to Commissioner Chair Hill for supporting our NNLC graduates by speaking at our spring graduation. It is said that a community helps us form relationships, provide support for each other, and provide opportunities we might not otherwise have. As this grant comes to a close at the end of this month, with only an estimated $4,000 left to spend, we hope that all of you share with NNLC these amazing outcomes and are comforted in knowing in working together as a community, we improve the lives of so many through the Washoe County Reinvestment Grant. We hope this Board of Commissioners considers any opportunity to continue the support of this nonprofit in providing the much-needed literacy skills throughout our community, especially for our youth. At this moment, I'd like to just have Matthew Ortiz stand up. He's one of our out-of-school youth who is a recipient of the Washoe County Reinvestment Grant funds, completing a training program, earned an industry-recognized certification, and is now working at the American Job Center.
Wow.
Happy holidays to all of you, and thank you so very much for your support this past year. It was amazing, and we enjoyed working with Washoe County so much. It was our first round, and we were just so excited to work with everyone. Amazing staff. Thank you very much, and happy holidays.
Thank you, Ms. Santiago. What an incredible program you had. You please stay, just in case there's commissioners who want to chat with you. So, Vice Chair Herman, do you have anything?
Thank you for all you do to help these folks get through this difficult time that they go through when you don't understand the language. It's and you do more than just that, you know. And I've followed you through the years I've been here, and I'm always amazed at the job you guys do. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you so much for the update. Approximately how many of your clients are family or parents and have children under their care?
Quite a few. We have our family reading program, which takes a holistic approach to literacy and education in the home. So we run our family literacy program. To give you an idea, we partner with the Northern Nevada International Center and have 60 families that get together on Saturdays and combine integrated ESL, English literacy, with a family reading component. And it's quite a very exhaustive Saturday morning, but they love it, and it's been very successful.
That's wonderful. And the reason I bring it up is because I think one area that your nonprofit is really lending a hand is, you know, we know that better educated parents create better educational outcomes for their children. But what a lot of people don't know is when we invest in mothers' educations, particularly, there's a growing body of literature that shows that impacts health outcomes as well. So not only education, but overall wellness. So thank you so much for doing the work that you do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Andriola.
I, too, just want to echo happy holidays and thanks for all you do. 1978, I believe, is when you said
Yes.
we're all aware, for those that have been here a long time, the great work you do. It's wonderful to actually see the outcomes in terms of the ARPA dollars that were used, and really speaks to how well you use those in terms of direct, targeted, and successful outcomes. And partnering with the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, I think, is a great attempt in terms of supporting business opportunities, as well as the families that were already spoke about. So I wish you all the best in terms of continuing the great work that you do. And I do have a question in terms of, do you partner with the Washoe County Libraries? And if so, what kind of capacity do you do that?
Absolutely, and I know Jeff Scott's here in the room. We actually offer our ELA program currently at the Sierra View Library. When it was under construction, we were at the Sparks Library. We were just talking about holding graduation at the downtown library. So yes, the libraries are a wonderful partner of ours, and we love working with them. And it's been a long-term goal. Jeff and I spoke about this for years now, how we just really want to see literacy programs have access, especially, again, we all know we have a challenging education system at times, and creating that access, putting them into the libraries where communities just have to walk a very short distance to access family with literacy programs, where we can help them navigate through Infinite Campus and work with their teachers. A lot of our foreign-born really want that opportunity to learn so that they can communicate with their teachers. They can understand how important the literacy is. Start home libraries. They get to take free books home. Do STEAM activities together when they're doing that. So it's more than just a reading program. It really does extend to showing them the importance of literacy and education in the home. So yes, our partnership with the libraries are very valuable to us.
Thanks for sharing that. Madam Chair, I have a
Yes.
follow-up. I'm wondering, have you ever entertained, or maybe you have, looking at the support with HSA and the foster children? That capacity is, I think, sometimes not intentionally neglected, but not always first thought about. And I'm just wondering if there might be an opportunity to actually look at, speaking with Mr. Gustafson and seeing if there is an opportunity to extend that, whether it's at the FEC or several of the areas that are throughout our community where there is family gatherings and the reunification process. So I just wanted to throw that idea if you haven't thought of it already.
No, absolutely. We do get referral from our H. Foster Care, and Linda Gonzalez is here, and she ran our youth program before becoming operations manager for NNLC. And I know they work very closely with our foster care system, but I think our presence there would be very, very helpful, just as the engagement center as well.
Yes,
you
and I'll
for that.
just, thank you. I was also thinking is, again, looking at the family unit, which is what the FEC is really looking at, and that reunification. I'm just, also speaking to that as well. So it might be an opportunity to really bring the great services that you offer and really providing the education so that really, as they're going through these changes on both the parent and the child and the children, that there's an opportunity to look at literacy as a part of it. There's many factors, but I just wanted to throw that out. So thank you again and happy holidays, and thanks
you.
for your great presentation, and thanks
Thank
for
you.
using the funds in such an effective way that really make a difference.
Thank you.
Commissioner Clark, do you have any?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I do. I just want to thank you and salute you for, it's apparent your passion for what you do. I really think you're helping a lot of folks and in a lot of ways that you might not even know, but thank you. Thanks for your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll continue to work together and have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you. Okay, we are now going to move into item 7, which is donations. Commissioner Garcia, could you help us read those into the record?
Of course, Madam Chair. We've
Thank
got
you.
some wonderful donations in these 3 agenda items today, including Reno Rotary's basketball setup for Our Place, a variety of items for senior services, and Child Protective Services received food and clothing with almost $2,000 from Doughboy Donuts and almost $5,000 from RTC's recent Stuff a Bus donation drive. So with that, I move to approve all 3.
Okay, we
I'll
have a
second.
motion. Thank you, Commissioner Andriola, and a second. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on donations?
There's nobody signed in.
Okay, with a motion and a second, any questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And I think that carries unanimously. Let's look. Okay, yes, it does. So we now will move into our consent items. Mr. Manager, is there any items that we need to pull on consent?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any commissioners have questions or comments on consent? I'm not seeing any. So at this point, I am looking for a motion on consent.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Andriola.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Madam Clerk, any public comment on consent?
We do have a public commenter, and I do need to make a comment about the minutes that
Thank
have
you.
been placed on the record. There were just some minor changes to make.
And we got a
First up, and you have been given a copy as
Yes.
well.
Mhm.
First up, we have Jennifer Willett.
Thank you.
Jennifer Willett. She appears to not be here. Oh,
Did you sign in for consent? Maybe a different item. That's okay. No worries. An item under item 8. I don't. Okay, come on up. Sorry, you're fine.
So, as you know, my name is Jennifer Willett, and I'm the grassroots manager at All Voting is Local, an organization that exists to expose and dismantle threats to voter freedom in order to make voting safe, fair, and accessible, to build a democracy for us all. Nevadans believe that everyone who has the right to vote has the unconditional freedom to do so, and the Registrar of Voters Office has worked hard to ensure this happens, and we appreciate their unwavering dedication to democracy. As I said, I wanted to make a comment on 8K2. I'm here to highlight the importance of having a consistent polling place in Sun Valley. The poverty rate in Sun Valley is higher than other parts of Washoe County, and Sun Valley also stands out as one of Washoe County's most diverse areas, with 51% of the population identifying as Hispanic in the 2021 census. These are important notes because studies indicate that insufficient polling places in low-income and minority communities hinder voter turnout. While it is absolutely appreciated that there will be vote centers for the June primary and the November general in Sun Valley, to ensure everyone's right to vote, I urge the county to add a polling place in Sun Valley for the presidential preference primary. Once again, a heartfelt thanks to the Registrar of Voters, especially as we look forward to the PPP. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
there's nobody else signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, we have a motion by Commissioner Andriola and a second by Commissioner Garcia for the consent. Any questions by the board? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And I think that also carries unanimously. I'm waiting to see when the screen pops up here. There it is. Thank you very much. We now will move into item 9. Mr. Manager.
Item 9 is a recommendation to provide direction to staff on amendments for Washoe County Code, Chapters 110 and 125, the Administrative Enforcement Code and the Development Code, specific to changes to the regulations for short-term rentals in unincorporated Washoe County. The board is asked to provide direction to staff regarding STR regulations for the purpose of streamlining STR permitting and enforcing processes in accordance with the board's initiation of code amendments to the August 22nd, 2023 meeting. The amendments may include, but are not limited to, STRs to one per parcel, in the Tahoe planning area, prohibiting new STRs and accessory dwellings in the Tahoe planning area, clarifying an STR permit must be relinquished, allowing for an updated STR permit renewal date via payment of a prorated renewal fee, removing the requirement for a signed notary for STR renewal applications, clarifying that a new STR permit is required with each change of parcel ownership, granting a 60-day grace period for renewals, clarifying violation and revocation regulations, reducing the appeal period for STR stop activity orders, increasing STR penalties, reducing fees for STR permits in partial home rentals, and resolving possible discrepancies that may arise within existing Washoe County Code chapters as a result of amendments. Virtual public comment is available
Thank you,
in
Mr.
Incline
Manager.
Village.
Wonderful. And I see we have a lot of public commenters, but I think it would be great if we had a presentation by staff on how we got here. I know we have promised the community that we'd be doing these updates and evaluations of our program at least once a year. And so that is my understanding why we're coming back with these changes. But go ahead, Mr. Lloyd, and take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, I'm Trevor Lloyd, Planning Manager with CSD. And as Chair Hill indicated, we do, based on a number of issues or technical issues or comments that we hear throughout the year, we gather a list of items that we would like to bring back to the board for your attention. We did so back in August of this last year, and at that time we asked for direction from the board, and the board gave us direction to prepare some draft language and take it out to the community, and that's really what we did. And the fundamental purpose of these changes, or these possible changes, is to help streamline the permitting and enforcement process. But it's also an opportunity to ask the public for feedback based on these requests and to gather that information and to bring it forward to you all. As a result, we did host 3 different workshops back in November. The first was held at the Incline Library, and we had about 25 attendees. And then we held 2 additional workshops, both on Zoom. We got a total of about 76 participants at all 3 of the workshops. And I know it says over 40 written comments, but since actually very recently we received a whole lot more. So we're well over 50 public comments that hopefully you've had a chance to go through. I would also say at those workshops, it was a good mix of folks, both concerned residents, primarily in Incline Village and Crystal Bay, as well as the STR permit holders. Before I go into the list of possible amendments, I know you all have received a good deal of emails regarding misinformation. There will be no possible amendments that staff is bringing forward involving the reduction of parking. So that is not part of the package of amendments that you will be hearing. To the first amendment, and actually this one was quite popular with the Incline Village and Crystal Bay residents, and that is the possible prohibition of utilizing STRs in established accessory dwelling units. That would only apply to the Tahoe Basin. It would not apply down here in the Truckee Meadows. The Second Amendment, moved on. The Second Amendment provides that if a property owner does not wish to abide by all of the STR regulations, then their STR permit would be required to be relinquished. This is current practice, and it is, in fact, in code, but we wanted to memorialize this within the section of code that it's most applicable to, which is Section 319.5 of Article 319. The Third Amendment is really a cleanup item, and it involves the removal of language that would require a permit by the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District for any open air or outdoor fire pit. We have since discovered that the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District does not issue such permits, unlike the North Lake Tahoe Fire Protection District. So this would only apply in the Truckee Meadows, this amendment. The fourth proposed amendment involves an option for a prorated permit fee, which would allow a permit holder to change their renewal date. And this is really popular with staff, as most of our renewals come in during a very short window of the year, primarily 3 months, June, July, and August. And so the ability to distribute evenly those renewal dates would be very beneficial, not just for staff, but also for permit holders who may have a hard time renewing within a certain time of year. This Fifth Amendment involves the requirement that if an STR property is sold, the new property owner would be required to get a new STR permit. So the permit does not go along with the property, but with the property owner. And that's really important too, because oftentimes there are standards and criteria and requirements that the new property owner would not know unless they went through the permitting process. Right? Amendment 6 is an allowance for a grace period for STR permit renewals of up to 60 days at the discretion of the director. Item 7, the seventh possible amendment, would establish that STR trash violations issued by a GID or the Northern Nevada Public Health, or a disturbing the peace violation issued by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office would be considered an STR permit or an STR violation under Article 319. All right, the Eighth Amendment would eliminate the requirement for a notarized signature for renewal applications. This would help simplify the renewal permitting process. Amendment 9, involving revocation of STR permits, would clarify that a permit owner whose STR permit has been revoked cannot be issued another STR permit for a period of 1 year following the date of revocation. And then the 10th Amendment involves or expands the list of STR revocations to include STR properties in which illegal construction has occurred. Now, the 11th item, or the 11th amendment, is actually an amendment to Chapter 125. That's the enforcement chapter of Washoe County Code. This would, in fact, reduce the appeal period from 30 days down to 14 calendar days. The 12th Amendment involves the possible increasing of fines or penalties for STR violations. And in your staff report, it lists the option of a tiered approach, where looking at increasing the penalty amount with each subsequent penalty. And then finally, there is the 13th possible amendment is a concept idea of creating a possible tier for those STR permit holders who rent out a portion of their property or who claim that property as their primary use or primary residence as identified in the assessor's records. if the board wishes to pursue this amendment, staff would bring forward some options with the draft ordinance that would be coming back to this board. That concludes my presentation. As I mentioned, we are seeking direction. If the draft language is appropriate, we would move forward to the Planning Commission for their recommendation and then bring this back sometime early in 2024.
Thank you.
So I'm
Mr.
available
Lloyd.
for any of your questions at your time. I know there's a lot of public comment as well.
Yes, so I'll look to the board if we want to have a discussion now or questions now, clarifying discussion. It's not looking like it, so we will move to public comment. Madam Clerk.
We'll start with the Incline Village people. So first up, we have Roxana Dunn.
Yeah. Thank you. Roxana Dunn, full-time resident of Incline Village, a member of the CAB, though I am speaking only as an individual today. I am in favor of the staff's recommended amendments, and I want to thank Trevor Lloyd and the Washoe County Community Services for listening to the community and adjusting the recommendations to reflect their feedback. When the original proposal allowing accessory dwelling units to be used as STR was presented, the 25 or so attendees gave an emphatic and resounding no. Follow-up meetings and discussions must have reinforced this, as item number 1 on the STR ordinance list prohibits ADUs to be used as short-term rentals. ADUs have been touted as a way to increase workforce housing, and so in allowing them to be used as STRs, the county was sending a very contradictory message. Also, since ADUs are likely to be closer to property lines, they exacerbate an already troublesome STR issue. So thank you for that first suggestion, or the first amendment. In your packet, you should have received a 4-page memo from Diane Becker and me providing some background on IVCB's issues with STRs. I hope you'll have a chance to read that. I want to emphasize 2 points made in this document. In the peak month of July, there are almost 20,000 people in this area. With only 3 exit routes, which seem to be under perpetual construction, this is a dangerous situation. At least 2 of our neighborhoods, Upper Tyner and Tyrolia Village, have several hundred houses served by a single egress with steep inclines and tight turns. Increasing density in these vulnerable areas, and for that matter, increasing the overall population of the area by encouraging STRs and by adding ADUs, is kindling a future disaster. I ask that you get a better handle on the true population of the area and factor this into all decisions affecting growth, including STR proliferation. Please continue work on the evacuation plan to develop accurate measures so that you can translate prospective growth into realistic consequences. A second point included in the packet describes the effect of STRs on neighbors. I heard your discussions in the August meeting where you voted down an STR cap. You gave touching arguments about the property rights of owners. I ask that you also consider the property rights of neighbors.
Next up, we have
Thank you.
Diane Becker.
Hello, my name is Diane Becker, and I live full-time in Incline Village. I'm also the chair of our local CAB, but I speak here as an individual. I do hope, like Roxanne said, that you have had an opportunity to read the submission that we put in, which was much more detailed than we can be in our 3 minutes. I want to say thank you so much to Mr. Lloyd, who really listened to our concerns and thought about the issues we raised, that there is no parking on streets during our snowplow season, that we have only 3 potential 2-lane roads for evacuation, and that the many people in the community feel that there is a real evacuation risk within our area. And we are asking that at all times, when you're making decisions about Incline Village, Crystal Bay development, where you're going to add more people in here, that you really think about this evacuation risk issue and how much our very limited roads can take, particularly in the summer months, when next summer and for 3 years, we're going to have one lane of the 2 lanes closed on Highway 28 on the way to Carson City, as well as we're going to have 155,000 cubic yards of dirt. That would be 13,000 trucks going 2 ways for over 20 weeks, hauling out of the Biltmore, which many of us are looking forward to it being rebuilt, but it's just going to be a lot of traffic density over the next 2 years. So what we ask is that you follow his recommendation regarding STRs not allowing ADUs. We also ask one thing, and that is that you consider our request about caps on the total number of STRs. Throughout the local, all of the local jurisdictions at the lake have put in caps except for Washoe County. So every single other area around Lake Tahoe has a cap. And they have reached 88.5% of their caps. So now our realtors and realtors around the lake are saying the place to buy for STRs is in Incline Village, Crystal Bay. Now, maybe that's good for the county because it will result in more revenue, but for the people and for the evacuation risk, it is not the best thing. Tahoe Regional Area Plan spent from 2017 until the year 2021 drafting its short-term rental guidelines to govern the whole lake, and they're just guidelines. All of the other areas followed them except Washoe County in setting some cap on the number of STRs in residential neighborhoods. They did this with hiring very expensive outside consultants and getting input from residents, businesses, and people from throughout Lake Tahoe. And I hope that those of you who are...
Next up, we have
Thank you very much.
Schmink.
Good morning. I'm Diane Schmink, and I'm an Incline resident and taxpayer for 22 years. This is my 4th Board of Commissioners meeting. I am one of 80 Tyrolean village property owners and voters fiercely defending the sanctity of my home and neighborhood against destructive entities and situations. I strongly support retaining Section 110.319.15b STR parking as stated. I request, do not remove, change, or reconsider the current language. And yes, caps are a must. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christina Hill.
Hi, good morning. I just want to say thank you, Trevor and staff, for making this changes to the amendments to incorporate our comments from Incline Village. And the only thing I would like to add is I believe in the very strongly that there should be a cap on the number of SDRs allowed in at least the Tahoe portion of the area plan, and also stricter enforcement of non-compliance with SDRs. I mean, if you could have more staff and more monies going towards enforcement, that would really benefit our community. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathy Jillian.
Hi, Kathy Julian, Incline full-time resident. And I also would like to echo what Christina said. We do appreciate Trevor and his staff's effort to reach out to us, the various workshops. And also appreciate Alexis for advocating to have this forum at the library so that we here can make our comments known to you folks from afar. That being said, I do think that we were led to believe when the initial regulations were put forth that there would be kind of a review of the rules about STRs after we had some data. And I think generally there hasn't been a sufficiently broad review of those regulations to include that very important point of the cap. And I know the commissioners rejected a cap on STRs a few months ago, but I think this needs to be brought up for discussion again. This is very important to provide inventory for our workforce housing. And it's probably the simplest, easiest, and most cost-effective way to provide inventory for long-term and seasonal rentals. So that's a key point. And the second one would be just transparency. It would be great if the public would know, especially in Incline Village, would know what STRs have been the subject of complaints so that it's easier for us to find who are the problem STRs in our community. And third, I think the board should consider looking at how you can limit the number of STRs in particular areas so that they aren't so close to each other, so that we have some dispersion by density. And that would probably help in keeping our neighborhoods residential and not commercial. Again, thank you for your effort to keep ADUs from being STRs in Incline Village. That is absolutely critical. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's everybody in Incline Village. We'll move to Chambers. First up, we have Linda Smith.
Madam Chair and members of the Commission, I am here on behalf of the concerned neighbors of Tyrolean Village. We now number more than 80 property owners. Our group did speak at the November 15th public meeting and provided written comments supporting many of the proposed amendments being considered by the staff. However, there are several proposed changes we do not support. First, grace period extension. We do not support extending the grace period for STR permit renewals to 60 days. STR owners should abide by the current renewal periods, just like other people who get licenses from the county or the state. Number two, we do not support reducing the permit fees for primary residences. This is only going to encourage STR owners to falsely claim their rental as their primary residence to be able to get this reduced property tax rate. We reported to the county assessor this year at least 7 units in our own HOA who are being entirely rented out, but the owner was claiming they lived there to get the lower property tax. Third, we strongly oppose removing the requirement to notarize renewal applications. It's not difficult to find a notary, and a notarized signature allows HOAs to take legal action against the STR owner who makes false claims. For example, I'm illustrating on an application, see if it'll show up here, it's hard to see, that this owner claimed he had 3 parking spots, he marked them all. His only legitimate one was yellow, he's marking reds. So this is an example of the kind of false claims that have been going in on applications. You need to keep the notary. We also strongly support retaining the section which states STRs may only use their assigned spot. We know this section is not being changed in the current draft, but we have witnessed our STR owners lobbying your staff to get this restriction removed. This would be catastrophic for homeowners associations, not only like Tyrolean Village, but McLeod, Bitterbrush, and many similar that are in Incline Village and have very limited parking spots. In my own community, we simply don't have enough space to give everyone 2. STRs want to increase their occupancy and grab spots away from residents. I'm attaching examples of photos of the kind of parking issues that we have dealt with here in Tyrolean Village, based on, again, poor access. We can't even can't even get out of that road. That's a one-way road, and you can see the kind of parking we're dealing with. So please keep the current language. Finally, we disagree with the staff statement that HOA verification is problematic. If an HOA limits STRs to one tier, then the county should not issue a Tier 2 or a Tier 3 permit. If an HOA bans STRs, don't issue an STR in that HOA. Thank you very much for helping recognize these requests.
Thank you.
Leslie Mullenkamp, followed by Jeff Mullenkamp. Ms. Smith, if I could have your documents that you presented. Ms. Smith.
Good morning. Leslie Mullenkamp, a proud resident of Washoe Valley. I'm here in support for proposed amendments related to permitting tiers, which is number 13 on the list. We really appreciate Mr. Lloyd's efforts to hear our concerns in this matter. We maintain first and foremost that there should be no permits required in the first place, as we should be able to allowed to rent our home as we wish. We can rent our home for 1 month, 6 months, or even a year without a permit, and we should be able to do it for less than 29 days. We maintain that this is a rental situation, not a business situation, and should be treated as such. We also maintain that Washoe County is charging too much for permitting fees. Washoe County's permit fees are 44% to 80% higher than other similar municipalities and counties. We provided this analysis to you, and it shows a comparison of permitting costs for Aspen, Colorado, Big Bear Lake, Hawaii County, Park City, Utah, Bozeman, Montana, also Yellowstone, we know it as, and San Diego, California. Washoe County fees are hundreds of dollars higher than any of them. If overall fees will not be reduced, the current tier structure should be addressed so property owners outside of Incline Village pay approximately 15% less for permitting fees. We say that because we provided a comparison and analysis of how these high permitting fees are impacting those that make the least from STRs, which are part-time mom and pop owners that are owner occupying these STRs, and they are outside of Incline Village. For example, permitting fees for a part-time STR, which is less than 6 months, renting it out, in Washoe Valley costs 22% of annual earnings. So basically for every $5 that's made with this rental, $1 goes to pay for permitting. A full-time Incline Village STR, on the other hand, pays only 7% of earnings towards permit fees. So basically every $5 they make up there, 35 cents goes to permitting fees. If fees will not be reduced, a new tier structure should be added to accommodate owner-occupied STRs that are rented part-time, or if they're only renting a room versus the entire home. Permitting fees should be at least 50% less. An STR renting only part-time is going to spend 21% of earnings on permits, and if you're renting only a room, the owner is going to spend approximately 63% of their earnings on permitting. If we were to open any other business in Washoe County, we would get a reasonable price business license, $78. And we want to point out that a $5 million business pays less than we do.
Thank you.
Jeff Mullenkamp, followed by Kristen McDougall.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate it. Jeff Mullenkamp for the record. We're homeowners in Washoe Valley, and we do part-time rent our house out as an STR. And so we're a little different than some of the other people at Incline who are running it as a business. What we are looking for is really two things. And I appreciate that the item is addressed for future consideration, and that is tiers. What we would really like to see is if somebody rents their house out less than 120 days, or they're only renting out a room or something of that nature, that there is a different consideration and that the fees be reduced. I would suggest that the fees could be reduced by changing the way you do business. And I've run finances for the state and for cities in California. I know a little bit about this. And you're doing too much on the front end in the name of public safety. As my wife said, if you rent it out for 30 days or more, none of these things apply. Having to have integrated fire alarm systems, having to have strobes, having to have all these things, and having people come out to do planners come out to your property. This is expensive and it's not necessary. I would divert resources to enforcement. You've heard that from the incline people. If you're going to put resources into this, do it on people who are not doing the right kind of business. Don't hamstring people who are just trying to rent out some rooms in their houses or maybe even their whole house for a week or two. We don't have any problem with the amendments that are being suggested. They're all reasonable to us. But what's missing is what we're concerned with. I appreciate that desire to go with tiers. We're happy to participate if that's helpful. And also with re-tiering how you guys are spending your money. You're spending so much on the front end that you don't have room for the back end. And when my wife says that she's done some homework, believe me, she's done some homework. And you're only getting a fraction of what she's done. Watch when she turn her loose. The reality is that we are, Washoe County, let's be honest, they're out-regulating California in this. And I don't think that, I'm a Nevada resident for a long time, I don't think that's what we're after. I would love to see that in the next iteration, both a tier structure that reduced costs for part-time and people doing rooms, but also look at where you're spending your money. Look at the front end requirements that are more planning related, that are public safety related, that are really unnecessary. Those are for high rises. Those are to stop MGM issues, things like that. And so I would really ask you to look at that and retool where you spend your money in the effort to keep this thing paying for itself, but to also make sure that you're not taking people, the moms and pops, and driving us out of the market. Because what you're doing right now is you're over-regulating it to the point where people don't want to do it. That's why your numbers are low, in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kristen McDougall, and we have documents to distribute to the board.
Put on my little glasses. All right. Okay, my name is Kristen McDougall. I am a registered voter in Washoe County. I live at 1363 Valleys Way in Incline Village. I am a 29-year resident of Tyrolean Village, who I am speaking on behalf of. I agree with the majority of the public comments in regard to the amendments, and I have submitted my thoughts in writing. But I do want to discuss something that it has brought some concern to me, which is the discussion in the public comments to remove or amend the language of WCC 319B. Proponents argue that the Board of County Commissioners be removed from any aspect of determining the parking for STRs in multi-unit developments, and rather the burden be placed on HOAs or the governing bodies of those complexes. I strongly disagree with this suggestion and argue that the BCC should and has a duty to remain involved in the determination of parking for these complexes, as the BCC oversees the STR permitting process. And more importantly, BCC representatives are elected by their constituents to adopt enforceable ordinances and resolutions. You represent the people who live here, work here, and vote here. There needs to be a distinction between private property versus common property, which is the issue that we're talking about here, most importantly. With very few exceptions, Tyrolean Village chalets only have one guaranteed parking spots. There is not abundant parking places, as is claimed by some of these folks. In fact, the parking that is available is often reduced significantly during storm cycles in the winter, peak tourism times. Locals like to have friends and family up too. And when part-time residents return for the summer and fall months. STR owners cannot guarantee to their occupants that these parking places will be available. Therefore, they should not advertise that this is so. References to hybrid parking model, that's a new term to me. I've never really heard of it, but it probably is true for the past 30 years, as we have all shared parking with little to no conflict until recently. STRs are monetizing common space for personal profit at the expense of their neighbors, and past experience demonstrates that without clear laws and ordinances regarding the use of common space overflow parking, multiple vehicles are used to meet or even exceed occupancy of STRs, placing primary residents in the uncomfortable and difficult position of policing occupancy with very minimal opportunity for enforcement. Clear ordinances and regulations eliminate ambiguity, reducing the potential for needless conflict between STR occupants and locals, public health and safety concerns, ingress and egress concerns, and potential preservation of life and property if wildfire occurs, as well as maintenance and snow removal issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick Bartone, followed by Deborah Kolonica.
Hello. Madam Chair and members of the Commission, I'm against the proposal, although there may not be one, to expand the number of parking spaces.
Can you go closer to the microphone?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
I'm against the proposal to expand the number of parking spaces assigned to short-term rental operators in Tyrolean Village and Incline Village. I served on the Tyrolean Village Parking Solutions Committee that studied the parking situation in the community for over 2 years. I was originally a proponent of 2 spaces per owner. I was eventually convinced that this is a bad idea for 2 reasons. One, the math simply prevents everyone from having 2. And second, if everyone had 2 spaces, a substantial amount of parking inventory would go offline even when these people are away. It would be better to have more parking inventory in play to adjust to the ebb and flow of community members who are in residence at any given time. Another observation I'd like to share from my work on the committee is that a disproportionate number of parking complaints arise from the short-term rentals compared to from the residents. Whether these infractions occur because renters don't know the rules or they just ignore them, that's hard to say. Nonetheless, situations where renters occupy numerous spaces, park in spaces assigned to residents, or simply park off-road where they can fit is all too common. I believe people should be able to rent their homes, but they must do so in a way that doesn't disadvantage ordinary residents. TVA's limited parking inventory leaves little buffer for any violation of the rules. Finally, I'd like to address the idea that current rules prevent STR owners from accommodating their families when they are not renting their chalets. This strikes me as wanting their cake and eat it too. The only reason that they have been limited to 1 space is that they want to rent their home. While 1 space is not ideal for anyone, the alternative of allowing multiple spaces as proposed is even worse for the community. If STR owners are allowed the same parking privileges that non-renters enjoy, the situation for the ordinary residents could become untenable as they wrestle with typically large groups of renters for limited spaces to which everyone would then be entitled. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deborah Kolonica, followed by Gary Schmidt.
Madam Chair and members of the Commission, thank you. I'm going to give you some examples of the problems we have endured before parking limits were put in place for STRs. And this also is to let you know how thankful we are for the ordinance language limiting STRs to their assigned parking space. Renters of an STR on another street parked on our street and then cut through the woods to get to their rental, most of the time parking more than 2 cars. In doing so, they passed right next to our house and under our bedroom windows at all hours of the night. This happened on multiple nights, on multiple occasions, weekdays and weekends. Most of the time, they were drunk, loud, and disrespectful to us and to our property. They maintained their party all the way to the house they were renting, leaving garbage behind and even urinating in our yard. On one winter weekend, renters broke down several aspen trees in our yard, thinking they were dead because they didn't have leaves on them. causing several $100s in damages. Renters are on vacation, and they don't care that they're disturbing families with sleeping children and adults that have to get up early the next day to go to work. Another time, STR renters were playing catch with a baseball and hit 2 of our cars with the ball, denting both cars, and then hitting the side of our house as well. An STR on our street had renters for a weekend and brought 13 cars. They were parked all the way down our street and even in front of the fire hydrant. They were all young, 20-ish, and not one of them carpooled. Each drove their individual car. They were back and forth, leaving, coming, and going through the entire weekend. The traffic and the noise from them was overwhelming and dangerous. The same STR on a different weekend had 3 cars, and then the largest size RV came and parked right in front of another neighbor's home. They proceeded to empty the RV and all of their belongings and garbage, blocking a good portion of the street. All the time having a generator running. Imagine all of this going on around your homes. Now, ever since the parking ordinance came into effect, there have been very few offenders, and things have quieted down a bit. Therefore, we do not want to see the language of the ordinance changed. We've already lived that nightmare and don't want to see it return. But I will stress that it would be very helpful to have some county enforcement people assigned to Incline Village to help us deal with the problems that we full-time, long-term residents experience. So thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Gary Schmidt.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Gary Schmidt. I resided on the Mount Rose Highway off and on for the last 55 years. I ran for Senate District 16, which includes Incline Village, twice and got north of 40% of the vote in that community. But I'm here to discuss the tale of 2 cities. You have 2 remote communities in Washoe County that rely substantially on tourism and recreation. That's Incline Village and Gerlach. And I respectively submit that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, that Gerlach should be excluded from any regulations as far as short-term rentals for a variety of reasons, some of which I'll go over. First of all, I have rental properties in Gerlach and non-rental properties in Gerlach, and just about all properties in Gerlach are short-term rentals because the population is transient. You can lease your facility for a year and they may only stay 3 weeks. It happens all the time. Let me give you some more comparisons between the 2 communities. First of all, Gerlach has a lot more fire pits than Incline Village. There's 1 fire pit for every 2 people in Gerlach. Of course, in Gerlach, we call them 55-gallon metal barrels. In addition, Gerlach, if you add up the legal capacity of all the establishments that can serve alcoholic beverages, everybody in the town of Gerlach, all 100 people, can be in a bar at the same time. Incline Village can't claim that. And they often are in the bar at the same time. Additionally, in Gerlach, generally a family unit has more cars than they do at Incline Village. In Gerlach, they have about 5 cars per family unit. In Incline Village, they only have 3 cars per family unit. And the 5 cars in Gerlach per family unit, generally speaking, at least one of the cars runs part of the time. In Incline Village, 3 cars add up to a value of about $300,000 on the average. In Gerlach, the 5 cars add up to a value of around $300. Let me say also, there's other nice advantages in Gerlach. We have 1 fire truck for every 33 people. We have 1 deputy for every 50 people. And that's not enough deputies sometimes when all 100 people are in the 4 bars at the same time. But let me just reiterate, exclude the Gerlach.
Thank you very much.
There's nobody else signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I see DA Canderas is signed in.
Yes, point of order, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let the board know before we got into any deliberation that the parking issues are not before you in these amendments. Thank you.
And I think it's really important to point out the parking that is enforced for Incline Village is specific to that area, and there's different parking requirements for the rest of Washoe County, just for the record.
Yes.
So we don't need to discuss, but I just wanted to make a good clarification there. Thank you, Ms. Canderas. So I'm looking to the board to see if there's comments or questions on these items. I have Commissioner Andriola signed in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have several questions. I guess, Mr. Loy, thank you. Well, first of all, you certainly received a lot of comments, and your staff for doing a great job, so great job. I'm going to share a scenario that was sent, and I'm just asking if you can either confirm or clarify if this is applicable, that there may be unintended consequences for an STR in the Incline Village area where the actual residence, the homeowner, the primary homeowner, is restricted when in fact the STR or the guests that are coming with the STR approval are not there, that the restrictions of the numbers of family members apply. And I'm just wondering if you could clarify. I hope I made that clear.
Yes, you did, Madam Commissioner, and through the chair. Yeah, this is an issue, and I appreciate you bringing up this concern. It's actually something we've struggled with from the beginning. We recognize that it would become an enforcement nightmare to try to distinguish between, an owner-occupied violation or a renter-occupied violation, and for that reason, it was determined that, and it's actually currently in code also, and it's a current practice. So the proposal before you is simply to memorialize the current practice of enforcing the occupancy and all of the other standards on any property that has an active STR permit. So to answer your question, yes, a family is under the same criteria whether the property is being rented or lived in based on those standards.
So if the family or any family wanted to terminate the STR, then they could apply again. I mean, that seems like what would end up happening in this particular scenario. And really, the only opportunity that the homeowner could actually have their home be their home without the same criteria that would be governed by the code if the STR were in place.
And that is correct. They would need to relinquish the permit.
So maybe it's just me, but I'm not sure if you provide that opportunity to homeowners to keep on expiring and then applying. I would imagine that's a lot of administrative work as well. So it just seemed surprising to me. I have another question. I also want to thank Kelly Mullen for spending a lot of time sharing a lot of information about this item. It appears that there's approximately 93% of the STRs that are currently in the Tahoe planning area, and 7% are not. And I wonder if there's an opportunity to actually look at the 7% that are having to follow the unique characteristics that are in place with really the crown jewel of our area, and we all recognize those unique characteristics. And so the 7% are, even though, by the way, thank you for carving out even on the open pit fires, that it's only in Tahoe. It is not in the 7%, nor would it be in Gerlach. So I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity to actually look at the owner-occupied. So for instance, if I'm owner-occupied and I want to rent a room, I guess I should probably think about 29 days, because 28 days will trigger a lot of requirements. And I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to look at gathering data to look at the 7%, because the majority of the feedback and the majority of even the solicitation of information that you have certainly been complimented in your staff for reaching out seem to apply to the 93%. And I'm just wondering if there isn't a way. I don't know if you have any suggestions. I'll leave that to staff, but I feel like having an owner occupied and just renting a room may have an opportunity for consideration outside of this 93% that seems to always be carved out. So I'm not sure what your suggestion is with that. Maybe I should just leave to staff to do it, but I think it needs to be looked at, if that's okay. Since you're looking for direction, I'm throwing that out. I also want to thank you for looking at the consideration for having different enforcement for the 93% versus the 7%, and understanding that legal and staff had concerns that that was not going to be a viable opportunity. So I want to ask for it again, but I feel that you vetted that, and so I appreciate that. It's unfortunate that to several of the folks that actually spoke during public comment, shared that perceived inequity. And so I realize that it is hard when you're having codes that you're wanting to have be applicable to everyone, but the fact is this is unique. And even staff has said that. That's why there's carve-outs in various places for various things that are specifically applicable. I've not seen a bear in Spanish Springs, as an example. So having those provisions, I think, are important, but I really appreciate the fact that looking at owner-occupied, looking at the 7%, and seeing if there's an opportunity for consideration of reduced fees, because it is unique. So I would ask that that be considered. I realize that when you are getting feedback, you're looking at the whole county, and I'm just hoping that that continues so that the 7% have a strong voice to the 93% that also are participating. So I appreciate that. I think that's all I have. Oh, I have one more. There was a recommendation on some of the feedback that we received about looking at a noise management plan. Is that something that is considered or looked at when you are going through the process?
Certainly it's something that's considered. And when we talk about noise, it gets very challenging to determine what becomes a noise violation. So in many respects, we leave that up to the sheriff's office when they issue disturbing the peace violations. And that's part of your packet also, that if there is a violation of disturbing the peace, a loud party, that becomes an STR violation as well.
And just to follow up on that, it really comes down to enforcement and whoever's jurisdiction that is. So if in fact there is some enforcement call that is warranted by Washoe County, there was discussions about looking at the fee adjustment to accommodate the enforcement increase And I'm just wondering, what does that number look like for enforcement on the county, not on the sheriff piece, but on the county side? Is there an increase in staff that will be directly related to the increase in fees?
No.
Okay.
The fees would not cover an additional staff. Really, it's more of a way of incentivizing STR owners not to violate. And I believe my director has something to say. Okay. But it would not result in an increase in staff, unfortunately.
So how many enforcement staff are there now?
Currently, we have one code enforcement staff for all short-term rentals.
Okay. All right, thanks. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm hoping you'll add kind of what we did when we increased fees, because there are additional staff that will be coming online, correct?
Thank you for the question, the opportunity to clarify. Kelly Mullen, Planning and Building Division Director. Yes, just to add a little bit of context, when the board voted to increase fees in August, those went into effect October 1, and that allows us now to actually hire some temp staff to assist with the permitting process. During the FY25 budget cycle, we'll be looking to turn those temp positions into permanent positions, making that request at that time. And what we had discussed with the board is that should that occur, that a portion of the time for those planning technician positions, in addition to helping with the administrative duties and the permitting processes, would be to providing some additional support to our enforcement team as well. And we also have had discussions with the sheriff's office, as well as for our enforcement officers' schedule of time up there at the Incline Village, Crystal Bay area, kind of increasing the number of drive-bys, so to speak, and being on the street around some of those short-term rentals, and also coordinating with the sheriff's office, where if there's some known SDR properties that have been continuing to have complaints, we let them know, and they can also increase presence in those areas when they're available.
And non-compliance. So sending out those non-compliance letters, I think, is another thing that they'll be doing.
Absolutely, yeah. Our enforcement team right now does, it is the one area of the county where we do proactive enforcement in terms of going out and taking a look to see if there are short-term rentals that are operating without permits, to make sure that anyone who is operating a permit is aware there's a permit process they need to go through to actually be able to operate that short-term rental.
So we'll be beefing that up as well next year.
It is certainly something that, with that additional support, that we would be looking to provide that backup for our enforcement officer.
Commissioner Andrew.
So thanks. I appreciate that. So I should have been clear. That is there any plan? I should have been clear on my question. So when you said no, I was like, wait, I thought we were going to do something. So thank you for the clarification, Ms. Mullen. I do have one last question. What was the reasoning in removing the notary? I was just curious why that would be, especially in terms of the fact that there have been some comments both today and that we've received that indicate that it gives strength to other HOAs, as an example, or other entities to take any action that falls within their purview. And I'm just wondering, there's lots of things that we have to get notarized, and it doesn't seem to me that that's a big inconvenience. So I was wondering where the logic came from that, and would that be something that you might consider putting back?
Well, again, we'll leave that up to the board at your discretion. The reason that came about, however, is because with every original application, every original STR permit, we do require a notary, and that's not being removed. It's only for the renewals. And we've heard a number of complaints. Oftentimes people are out of the country, or they're in a different part of the country, and they have a challenge getting to a notary in order to get the renewal processed on time. And so, again, I stress it's only for renewal requests. It's not for the original STR permit.
Thank you for that clarification. I apologize. I did not read that way.
That's okay.
So I thought it was being removed in its entirety. However, if the application for the renewal changes substantially, is there a trigger that would require a notary? Or, I'm just wondering out loud if there is a major substantive change to the renewal process that may warrant it not being a legal comparison of the original application being notarized versus the renewal.
I think if it were a significant enough change to the STR itself, it would require a new permit, such as a new owner or something to that effect, and it would require notary. But otherwise, we don't, for renewals, we're proposing that provision be struck in.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask Ms. Canderas to talk to us a little bit about notarizing. What exactly legally, on the first place, notarizing, on the second place, on the renewal? Can you kind of explain that to us from a legal standpoint? Thank you.
It can depend, Commissioner Clark. Sometimes a notary is under penalty of perjury, meaning that you're swearing to everything and that everything is true. Sometimes a notary is used just to show that it is the person who's making the application, so the notary takes an ID. So without looking at their applications, I wouldn't know for sure. I do think that the rationale offered by the planning is probably correct, that in a renewal is overly burdensome. And if there are changes in material facts, that would probably warrant a new application. So it sounds like what the Planning Commission has suggested is workable, but ultimately it's up to the board.
Thank you. Could you, for the folks that are asking that the notary continue to be included, can you explain to them if it really helps them? Do you think it really does?
I doubt that even if they were signing it under penalty of perjury, I don't think that gives them a private right of action to go enforce the application. Basically, it's for use by staff of the Planning Commission. So even if you didn't notarize it and didn't sign it under penalty of perjury, if the staff was able to determine that you falsified your application or your renewal, they could take enforcement actions anyway. So that's what I think probably the impact of that would be, of no affidavit.
So having it notarized or not notarized, it's almost neutral. Would that be a good description? I mean, as far as enforcement of anything other than you wouldn't have an advantage in a courtroom situation if it was notarized or not notarized. Would that be a fair statement?
Not unless it's under penalty of perjury. That's it. And I don't know what theirs say, but it's probably not under penalty of perjury. We typically do that in lawsuits.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Very well. Thank you. I've got some further comments. I think that the some of the things that are brought up by Ms. Dunn up at the lake, and Ms. Becker and Ms. Schmeck, and about traffic up there. I'm glad I got the heads up that that area is going to be torn up for the next year or two. You won't be seeing me. If I turn up missing, don't look for me in that area, because I'm going to avoid that area because of traffic. But, making light of it. But at the end of the day, that is a real concern. I mean, we just saw a massive problem in Hawaii, and Incline Village is quite similar to that, and by a body of water with limited ways in and out. So I think that those are things that need to be considered. I caught just the tail end of a news report this morning about 6:15-ish on Channel 8 about Douglas County reducing the number of their short-term rentals. I don't know if staff followed that, but might be something to look into and see what Douglas County is doing, just to kind of see if we're in that area. But lastly, on the Mullenkamp comments, I think they had some very valid comments. What we're charging, what other places are charging, what about renting it out in their house, and what about renting out a room? I mean, if somebody really wanted to game the system, they could lease lease the house out for a month and then cancel the lease. And if the owner agreed, then that's the work around that. So, let's make this workable and viable and not so onerous for folks that are just trying to rent something out. I understand the lake is a whole different situation because of traffic and congestion and noise and proximity. But if somebody's out in Washoe Valley renting out their house for a while, they should have an easier way to go, I think, than other folks. I know everybody should be treated equally, but equal in one neighborhood could be not the same equal in another neighborhood. So I think that's something that staff needs to look at and maybe interview some of the folks here today that talk to you and see if they've got some areas of concern that maybe you can help them feel better about. So that would be my only suggestion, is talk to the folks that it affects. I mean, those are the ones that's where the rubber meets the road. If I'm not in an area that has that, and so I'm not worried about noise from somebody renting out a house next to me. But for those that are in close proximity, that's an issue. Noise, again, it's always the same issues that come up: parking, noise, trash. Those are and fees. So just again, I would ask staff to respectfully speak with the folks who've spoken about their concerns and find out if there's something else that we can do to address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Herman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember when this first came before us, and my thoughts on it were the county is kind of setting up a new HOA. And that's the way I looked at it, because it doesn't happen in the private sector that way. And I voted against it at that time, and I think I've been pretty consistently against it because I don't understand how it's ultimately going to really totally work. I know that people were pushed into doing something, and I feel like I'm kind of a negative person sometimes, but I see the complications growing rather than shrinking, it seems like. The problems, I honor you guys for putting up with us as a board, because sometimes we bring you really bad stuff. And to me, I just don't understand the legality of what we're doing, because, in the real world, this doesn't usually happen. But I can't approve it because I just try and stay consistent until I'm proven totally wrong, and that's just my opinions. And like I say, you all have worked very, very hard to try and bring all the pieces together, and I'm sorry I'm not accepting it, but that's just the way I feel about it. I know a lot of folks that had to sell their homes up there due to what we did as a commission, and so Merry Christmas. I'm sorry. Bye-bye. All right, that's all I got to say.
Okay,
Just wanted
thank
to
you.
get that out.
Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Another comment, and Vice Chair Herman kind of made me think of this. We're growing government here. I mean, there's an extremely, extremely small percentage of the population in this county are involved in this, and yet all the taxpayers are going to, according to Ms. Mullins, we're going to ask for growth, ask for extra people to come aboard. Those people have the potential of staying with the county 20, 30 years, have the potential of retiring for another 15, 20, 30 years, depending on how long they live. So we're just building another empire for the majority of the folks are going to pay for the long-term representation of enforcement and so forth. So, I think we should be looking at limiting the county's involvement in this and not hiring employee after employee. And if there's one person monitoring the activity now and they take a day off or they get COVID or they're sick or they take a vacation, then we have no code enforcement. So then we have to hire more people to replace them. And then pretty quick, we're going to need a supervisor to supervise the code enforcement people. And then we're going to need somebody else. You know, you can just see how this thing snowballs. So, I want to see how we can streamline this and work within our budget and not grow this whole department. If you go back to August when we talked about this the last time, the number of the dollars that we generate versus the cost, so I said, this is I think I said it last time, the worst of everything. We're paying extra money to irritate people. People that are next to these short-term rentals are not usually happy about it, and it's costing us lots of money. What good is coming out of this? So I think we should figure out ways to limit the county's involvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you so much. We're here to support, reject, or modify the 13 amendments proposed, and I felt overall they were very straightforward, streamlined, more clarity, less discrepancies, so no real concerns there. I just was wrestling a little bit with item number 11 because that's the one I'm the most unfamiliar with, which is in relation to the appeal time. And in our staff report, it said that it would likely reduce the potential number of appeals and become more in line with the civil penalties. I was wondering if somebody could kind of talk me through item number 11, just because I'm not familiar with the appeal process as it is.
Absolutely. Commissioner Garcia, Commissioners, Jack Giesinger, Planning Manager for the Code Enforcement Program. So that is essentially a cleanup item. It was something that was overlooked when the initial ordinance was developed. There was a desire to reduce. We already had a process in Chapter 125 of County Code that has all the regulations on how to do administrative enforcement, which is our primary enforcement process under code enforcement. And that involves the issuance of warnings, penalties, and the potential to appeal to an administrative hearing office instead of an elected board as the first step. And so the existing language in that chapter provides 30 days to appeal a penalty notice to the administrative hearing office. And when we developed the STR ordinance, we decided that 30 days would be not appropriate and would be too long to give someone to appeal a penalty that had been issued for, say, operating without a permit, for example. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to give people that much time to continue violating the code until there was a resolution at the hearing. So we reduced that amount of time to 14 days for the penalties. We neglected to do that for the stop activity order section. It was an oversight. So now we have two different timelines potentially, because what we decided to do out of the gate for enforcement was, especially on operating without a permit, we issue both a stop activity order and we issue a penalty notice for violating the ordinance for not having a permit for operating. What the stop activity order does is it creates another enforcement mechanism in case they do continue operating. So if you violate a stop activity order, it could even be a criminal offense, a misdemeanor citation. So the conundrum we're trying to solve here is, what if somebody appealed the stop activity order but not the penalty notice, or if they appealed both of them at the same time, they'd be on different appeal timelines, which just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the same violation. So that's what it's about.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
You bet.
Great. Any other board comments or questions? Yes, Vice Chair Herman.
Thank you once again, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add a little footnote. In my District 5, I believe we only have one STR, and it's on a ranch. And I'm not so sure that they should have to be included in this, because the STR it's called an STR there, and it's for the ranch hands that come up during brandings and stuff like that, and even people that volunteered to go work there at a ranch, and that's the only one I know of. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the great discussion and all of the public commenters and all the emails that we received. I tried to respond to everyone who reached out. this has been a process. From the moment I got into office, we had been looking at this ordinance. We've had over 12 public hearings on this process, have brought it back to the board to really refine it and make it better for the neighbors and better for the owners. And I think staff has done a really admirable job at that. These recommendations are overall, I hear a lot of approval by the community. And it sounds like, to Commissioner Andriola's point, we need to look at those tiers so we can ensure that we're treating people equally. But I am prepared to make this motion because I feel so intimately, close to this program. But I move to confirm staff's recommendations, and in addition to Commissioner Andriola's clarification on tiers, and associated with the regulation of short-term rentals within unincorporated Washoe County. And I'm looking for a second. Commissioner Garcia.
I'll go ahead and second. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With a motion and a second, any questions from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Thank you. And I think that passes 3-1. All right, thank you very much. It is almost 1 o'clock, and so I just wanted to make another announcement that the public hearing that was set for 1 o'clock is going to be continuing, item 17. So we will not be hearing on that or having a hearing on that matter until a future meeting date. But if you wish to speak on that matter, you certainly can during our general public comment. I look to the vice chair to see if you have a block for us today. And I don't know, is your mic on?
We know.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that would be number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's it.
Thank you. And with that, is that a motion, Madam Vice Chair?
It is a motion.
Thank you. And Commissioner Andriola is coming in with the second. And Madam Clerk, do we have public comment on any of those items?
We do not.
Okay. Well, with a motion on the block by Vice Chair Herman and a second by Commissioner Andriola, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone, for that. We will now be moving to item 18, Mr. Manager.
Item 18 is a public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam Clerk, do we have public comments?
We have Gary Schmidt.
Okay.
For the record, Gary Schmidt, first of all, I'd like to thank the chair and the commission for continuing item 17 to a later date. I believe that all the parties involved in this issue on either side have Gerlach's best interest at heart, and I believe we all have kind of the same vision, but there's just a little bit of confusion as to the correct course of action or path to get there. I've spoken to you many times about this issue, reminding you that I kind of adopted Gerlach 25 years ago, quarter century ago. I've lived there on occasion. I have a personal residence there, had for 25 years. I own 125 acres contiguous to the developed portion of town. The developed portion of town is only around 100 acres, so I own more property than the currently developed portion of town. And I believe that the real issue is everybody would like to maintain the rural character of Gerlach. It has a unique personality. I spoke about it earlier today, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, but not really. It has unique personality and character, and it's supplemented by the Burning Man event annually. And I would not like to see Gerlach become a remote ghetto or slum for indigent persons through any form of dense development, subsidized housing. And I believe that is the issue at hand. There's an old saying, if you build it, they will come. Well, if you approve and support low-income, subsidized, urban-type housing in Gerlach, they will come. I'm certainly in favor of taking care of those people that live in Gerlach and love Gerlach, but I don't want to create an attraction to bring what you have on the streets of Reno and Sparks now all the way out to Gerlach. And I don't think it's in the best interest because there's no medical facilities out there, no support organizations for those people, no pharmacies. Just the community cannot and will not support that type of residency. And thank you again for continuing the matter.
I do have one email to place on the record, but that's all the public comment in chambers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we will go on to item 19. Mr. Manager.
Item 19 is Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commissions updates, requests for information or copies for or topics for future agendas.
Do you have anything for us, Mr. Manager?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, I'll go down the line. Vice Chair Herman, do you have anything?
Just Merry Christmas all.
Lovely. And Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Earlier today, we heard a public comment by Jennifer Willett from All Voting is Local regarding the voting centers in Sun Valley. And that did pop up on my radar, and I reached out to Manager Brown earlier this weekend. And the information I got, and maybe Mr. Manager can chime in, but we're all set to go for the primary and general elections and having a voting center out in Sun Valley. And it does get quite busy, so they're thinking about adding a second location. However, there's a little bit of a special circumstance regarding that particular building, and if you can kind of help elaborate on why we haven't been able to lock anything down for the PPP.
So for the record, Eric, County Manager Eric Brown, you're referring to the community center.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the GID manages the community center, and just as with the CAB, they have an active schedule of events for using that facility that sometimes precludes us from using it for things like a voting center, certainly with regards to early voting, which requires extended hours of use of the property. I know that the ROV has been working on it. We'll continue to look at and see what we can do for that area of the county because we know it's important. Again, it appears we're in good shape for the primary and the general, but not for the presidential preference primary. I would also say, I think all of the commissioners received communication from me earlier in the year about some of the challenges we're having getting establishments that have traditionally participated as voting centers from doing so going forward. You are all aware that Raley's pulled out during the 2022, I believe, elections. That has left areas of the county like the South Valleys, and some of the other areas without viable locations. So we continue to work and try to address that, but it is a challenge when you have a reduction in the number of entities willing to participate.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
One more thing, Madam Chair.
Yes,
I'm sorry while I have the mic. In response to Commissioner Clark's comments about Catholic Charities, I'll ask staff, Dana Searcy, to prepare a communication for you. We did approach Catholic Charities 2 years ago as the CARES campus was opening to see if we could work out an arrangement to pay them for feeding for those meals. It did not work out, and I won't get into the reasons for that now. I think Dana could lay it out better than I can, but I personally was involved in discussions with Marie Baxter and others. So I just want that to be on the record. If the desire of the commission is to find a way to support them, we can certainly do that, but it's not like we haven't tried to do so in the past.
Thank you for noting that. I know that there's a long history, and I was on this board when that was those discussions were happening, so I appreciate you making sure we got that on the record. Okay, Commissioner Andriola.
I too just want to say happy holidays to everyone and Merry Christmas, and I hope everyone, including staff and all of us and families, really put in perspective how important it is to take the time to, enjoy each other and to celebrate your beliefs, whatever they may be. And I look forward to also participating in the food part of it. But I do think it's an important time to really reflect on the end of the year. And I look forward to 2024. And I'd like to thank everyone for all of the support from the county manager, the staff, all of my colleagues who have been just lovely to work with, and I look forward to what 2024 brings. So Merry, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Manager Brown, for addressing that issue. My comment to that would be that was then and this is now. I was there last night about less than 24 hours ago talking about this to the staff there at Catholic Charities, and my question to them is if I was able to give you the $6 million, would you have a use for it? And they said, yes, they would. So they've done this graciously. We've got to salute them for doing it. But at the end of the day, the county needs to pay their fair share for what we do for the CARES campus. I'm sure, just an example, if you were to take someone out and use the county expense report and bought somebody lunch, it would only be right that you be reimbursed. And I think that same principle applies with Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities is here to help the whole community. And when they take a large amount of money, and I think to most people they would realize that $6 million is a large amount of money to pay for the county's care campus food requirements, that it's only right that we should at least bring it up or vote here with the commissioners to see if we should reimburse those folks. I also liked what they said instantly last night. If they had the extra $6 million, they would help other people here in the county. So if we're not going to help the seniors, maybe we can pay somebody, reimburse somebody who maybe they can help the seniors. So that was my comment. The other thing that I want to talk about is, I think they did a good job. It's a locally sourced kitchen. They're cooking right there. These are locally involved volunteers. I don't know is it Trio? I've never seen the name written, but whoever the other service is that we buy food for the seniors. And Catholic Charities said they were heartbroken when they lost the Meals on Wheels contract a few years back, and they lost it for about 50 cents a tray. So again, that's something I'd like to see on the agenda as well. Let's see if we can have locally sourced foods for the seniors, locally sourced foods for the CARES campus. I want parity. I want to see whatever the CARES campus folks get, I want to see the seniors get at least as good as what they're getting, and that's what I'm asking for. Again, I think it's only fair to have a discussion, have a vote amongst the commissioners to repay an organization that's spending $6 million, and I'm waiting to find out how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of volunteer time that they've put in. So I don't think this is out of line to reimburse them. Whatever was said before, that was then, this is now. We've got a new group of commissioners on this board, and I don't want the county to take anything away from another nonprofit when they can be using it for other good work in this community. So that was my comment. I'd like to have us vote on it. You can have Dana Searcy send me whatever kind of letters she wants. You can send me whatever kind of letters you want to justify what's been done. But I was there last night with Dana Searcy at the table, sampling the food, talking to these folks, and it's come to my attention that we should be looking into ways to reimburse Catholic charities. Thank you.
Well, I also just want to say happy holidays to the community. It's been a joy to work with all of you, and I really look forward to all of the good work that we can do in 2024. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We are adjourned.
All right.